Ethan had always believed that true success wasn't about flaunting wealth. It was about living a meaningful life. Growing up in a small, quiet town, he had built his empire from the ground up, creating one of the most innovative tech companies in the world. Yet Ethan preferred to keep his fortune hidden, living modestly in a small apartment and blending into the crowd. He didn't want anyone to love him for his money. He wanted someone to see the person behind the success. One evening, while browsing books in a local cafe, Ethan met Mia. She was charming, ambitious, and had an energy that could light up any room. She spoke passionately about her dreams of making it big in the corporate world, sharing her vision of one day climbing to the top of her company, Silver Tech Solutions. Ethan admired her drive, and their connection felt natural from the start. Their relationship blossomed quickly. Dates were simple: long walks in the park, quiet dinners at small, family-owned restaurants, and hours of heartfelt conversations. Ethan loved how grounded Mia seemed, and she appreciated his humility. But he noticed how her eyes lit up when she talked about wealth and success. One evening, over a candlelit dinner, Mia asked, "Ethan, you're so talented. Why don't you ever talk about where you're heading in life? Don't you have bigger goals?" Ethan smiled faintly. "I'm happy with where I am. Life isn't always about chasing more." Mia frowned slightly but quickly hid it behind a polite smile. "It's great that you're content, but don't you think you could do so much more?" Ethan could see the doubt in her eyes. She was starting to believe he lacked ambition. He shrugged it off, hoping she would see the bigger picture in time. As the months passed, small cracks began to form in their relationship. Mia started making subtle comments about Ethan's lifestyle. "Why don't you dress up more?" she once asked as they prepared to go out. Or, "Wouldn't it be nice to go to a fancier restaurant once in a while?" Ethan didn't mind her remarks. He knew she had big dreams, and he didn't want to stand in her way. But deep down, he wondered if she saw him as someone who wasn't enough. The breaking point came one evening during an office party Mia had invited Ethan to attend. The event was hosted by Silvertech, and the room was filled with corporate elites dressed in designer suits and elegant gowns. Ethan, in his usual casual attire, felt out of place but stayed by Mia's side. As they mingled with her colleagues, Mia introduced him with a casual, "This is Ethan. He's, working on a few things right now." Her tone lacked the pride he had hoped for, and he could sense her embarrassment. Later that night as they walked home, Mia finally said what had been on her mind for weeks. "Ethan, you're an amazing guy, but I don't think we're on the same page." "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice calm but steady. She hesitated, looking down at her feet. "I want more in life. I want stability, ambition, someone who's going places. I just don't think we're heading in the same direction." Ethan's chest tightened, but he held back his emotions. "So this is about money?" "No, it's not just that," she replied quickly, though her hesitation betrayed her. "It's about goals, about a future. I need someone who shares my vision for what life can be." Ethan nodded slowly, his heart sinking. "I understand, Mia." And with that, she walked away, leaving Ethan standing alone under the dim streetlights. Little did Mia know, Ethan wasn't just building a life. He was already at the top, and fate had an ironic twist in store for her that neither of them could have predicted. The morning after Mia left, Ethan sat in his modest apartment, sipping coffee and staring out the window. Her words echoed in his mind. "I want someone who's going places." He sighed, shaking his head. If only she knew. Ethan's phone buzzed on the table, snapping him out of his thoughts. It was his assistant, Sarah. "Ethan, the acquisition paperwork for Silvertech Solutions is finalized. We just need your signature to close the deal." Ethan smirked, his mood lifting. Silvertech had been struggling financially for months, and acquiring it was a strategic move to expand his company's reach. He had been following the company closely, intrigued by its potential despite its poor management. He picked up his pen and signed the papers. "It's done," he said, a sense of satisfaction washing over him. Later that afternoon, Ethan decided to visit the Silvertech office to meet the team and formally announce the acquisition. As he walked through the sleek lobby, he felt the familiar buzz of curiosity and whispers. Employees eyed him, unsure of who he was, but sensing his importance. Ethan stepped into the conference room where the team had gathered. The room went silent as he introduced himself. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ethan Carter, CEO of Carter Innovations. As of today, Silvertech Solutions is officially a part of our family. The room erupted in polite applause, though the tension was palpable. Ethan's eyes scanned the crowd, and that's when he saw her, Mia. She sat near the back of the room, her face a mix of shock and disbelief. Her usually composed demeanor faltered as their eyes met. Ethan kept his expression neutral, though a flicker of amusement danced in his gaze. After the meeting, Mia approached him in the hallway, her steps hesitant. "Ethan," she began, her voice unsteady. "Mia," he replied, his tone calm and professional. "It's good to see you again." She swallowed hard, searching for the right words. I didn't know you were this." "A billionaire," Ethan said, raising an eyebrow. "Or the new owner of Silvertech?" Mia flushed. "Both." "Why didn't you tell me? Why did you let me think you were just average?" Ethan smiled faintly, leaning against the wall. "Because I wanted someone who loved me for me, not for what I have. I wanted to see if you valued the person, not the lifestyle." Her cheeks turned crimson. "Ethan, I didn't mean to." He cut her off, his voice calm but firm. "You made your choice, Mia, and I respect that. But now we're in a different dynamic. You're part of my company, and I'm here to help Silvertech succeed." Her eyes darted to the floor. "I made a mistake," she whispered. Ethan sighed, softening slightly. "We all make mistakes, Mia. It's what we do after that counts." He straightened up and walked away, leaving her standing alone, grappling with her regrets. Back in his car, Ethan leaned back in his seat, exhaling deeply. He hadn't planned on this twist of fate, but he couldn't deny the sense of poetic justice. Mia had walked away from what she thought was a dead-end relationship, only to find herself working for the man she had underestimated. But for Ethan, this wasn't about revenge. It was about moving forward. He had a company to lead and a vision to realize, and nothing, not even lingering emotions, would stand in his way. Over the next few weeks, Mia found herself caught in an emotional storm. Every time she saw Ethan at the office, her stomach twisted into knots. He was no longer the humble man who preferred quiet cafes and late-night strolls. Now he was a commanding presence, leading Silvertech with confidence and precision. Ethan's calm professionalism only made it harder for her. He treated her like any other employee, kind but distant. There were no private moments, no hints of the connection they once shared. It was as though she had never been a part of his personal life. Mia threw herself into her work, hoping to prove her worth, but the weight of her mistake lingered. The colleagues she used to confide in now whispered about her behind her back. "Did you know she dated Ethan before finding out he was a billionaire?" one said, barely concealing her smirk. "Guess she didn't think he was ambitious enough," another added, laughing softly. The words stung, but Mia kept her head down. She had no one to blame but herself. One afternoon, during a team brainstorming session, Ethan joined them in the conference room. He listened attentively to every idea, nodding thoughtfully and offering constructive feedback. When it was Mia's turn to speak, she hesitated, unsure if he would take her seriously. "I think we could focus more on integrating AI-driven tools to optimize client communication," she said, her voice steady but cautious. Ethan nodded, his expression unreadable. "That's a solid idea, Mia. Let's explore how we can implement it in the next phase." His approval sent a wave of relief through her, but it didn't erase the tension between them. Later that evening, as most of the office cleared out, Mia gathered her things and prepared to leave. She had just stepped into the elevator when Ethan joined her, carrying a stack of files. The air was thick with unspoken words as the elevator doors closed. Mia finally broke the silence. "Ethan," she began, her voice tentative, I need to say I'm sorry." Ethan glanced at her, his expression softening slightly. "For what, Mia?" "For judging you," she admitted, her voice cracking. "For thinking you weren't enough, when the truth is, I wasn't enough. I was so focused on what I thought I needed that I didn't see the amazing person standing right in front of me." Ethan let her words hang in the air for a moment before replying. "We all see what we want to see, Mia, but I've moved on. My focus is on this company and the people who believe in its potential. His words, though calm, hit her like a wave. Mia nodded, tears threatening to spill. I understand, she whispered. When the elevator reached the lobby, Ethan stepped out, turning back briefly. Take care of yourself, Mia. You're capable of more than you think. Don't let anyone, including yourself, tell you otherwise. And with that, he walked away, leaving Mia alone with her thoughts. That night, as she sat in her small apartment, Mia reflected on everything. She had walked away from Ethan, thinking he wasn't enough, only to realize he was more than she could have ever imagined. She had lost him, but in the process, she had also lost herself. But Ethan's parting words stayed with her. For the first time, she resolved to focus not on what she had lost, but on what she could become. Mia spent the following months reflecting on her choices and rebuilding herself from the inside out. She realized that her ambitions had blinded her to the value of authenticity and genuine connections. Determined to turn her life around, Mia poured her energy into her work at Silvertech, not just to prove herself to Ethan, but to reclaim her sense of self-worth. She took on challenges she once avoided, stayed late to learn new skills, and began contributing innovative ideas that transformed her team's performance. Slowly but surely, her efforts didn't go unnoticed, by her colleagues or by Ethan. Ethan, on the other hand, watched Mia from afar. He saw her dedication and growth, and while he didn't let his personal feelings interfere with his professional role, he couldn't deny a growing sense of respect for the woman she was becoming. One day during a quarterly review meeting, Ethan asked Mia to present her team's progress. She stood at the front of the room, confident and composed, outlining her team's achievements and future goals. As she spoke, Ethan caught a glimpse of the Mia he had fallen for, determined, passionate, and full of potential. When she finished, the room erupted in applause, and Ethan nodded approvingly. Excellent work, Mia. Your leadership is making a real difference here. Keep it up. Mia's heart swelled at his words, not because of the recognition, but because she had earned it through her own hard work. One evening, after most of the office had cleared out, Ethan found Mia still at her desk, engrossed in her work. He approached her, his usual composed demeanor softening. You've been doing great, he said, leaning against her desk. I hope you're giving yourself some credit for all this. Mia looked up, surprised by his presence. Thank you, Ethan. That means a lot coming from you. He studied her for a moment, then said, You've come a long way, Mia. I can see how much effort you've put into growing, not just here, but as a person. She smiled faintly. I've had a lot to learn, about myself, about what really matters. I've made mistakes, but I'm trying to be better. Ethan nodded. We all make mistakes. The important thing is what we do after. And from what I can see, you're on the right path. Their conversation was interrupted by a staff member calling Ethan's attention. As he walked away, Mia couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope, not necessarily for them, but for herself. Weeks later, at a company gala celebrating Silvertech's turnaround, Ethan gave a speech about the journey of transformation, not just for the company, but for the individuals who had made it happen. Growth doesn't come from success alone, he said. It comes from the challenges we face, the lessons we learn, and the courage to keep moving forward, even when it feels impossible. I'm proud of this team and what we've accomplished together. As the crowd applauded, Mia caught his eye from across the room. She smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile that spoke volumes. Ethan returned the gesture, a silent acknowledgement of the progress they had both made. Though their paths had diverged, Ethan and Mia found peace in knowing they had both grown from the experience. Ethan continued to lead his empire with humility and purpose, while Mia embraced her own journey of self-discovery, knowing that true success wasn't about wealth or status, it was about finding strength in oneself and valuing what truly matters. And though life didn't bring them back together as a couple, it gave them something greater: clarity, respect, and a deeper understanding of themselves. The end.